Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe you can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real Fans, Real Talk. We as real as you thought. Real Fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. I know we switched the time and then we came back to the regular time. I apologize for that. I'm outside again, so we was trying to get things situated, but we are still here, ready to go. A lot of stuff going on this week that we're gonna get to. I know y'all gonna have some Shador questions. NFL is in full effect. NBA is in full effect. Had a big injury. Eric and myself spoke about it earlier. We're gonna get to all of that. And tonight is the last time you can't see me on Raw, because this is John Cena's last appearance on Raw right here in New York City at the are they at the Garden or Barclays Center? I'm gonna find that one out. But it's going down tonight. Before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? How's everything?
Man, I'm outside moving and grooving. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the sports world. NFL season is here. You see what we're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? We done got the low, you know what I mean? 4 straight, tied the record up. We 5-5 now. Now it's time to go up from here. And take the throne, reclaim our throne. Our AFC, AFC champion. So we need that back this year. So it's a lot of stuff going on. But let me just pull up to the top here, so we got in these comments. I know the football comments are coming. Shout out to Kyrie. He says, "Is the Eagles' style of winning ugly sustainable?" It's sustainable if everyone buys in and no one's being pouty about winning. And I think you know who I'm referring to when I say that, Eric. So yes, it is sustainable, but everyone, you got to put your egos to the side, and you got to understand that. Listen, some games, Jalen Hurts, and some games, most games, he ain't gonna throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Okay, but if you're winning football games, if you're winning championships, that is the most important thing. That's what's supposed to be the most important thing. You know what I'm saying? Especially once you got your contract already, you done been paid the big bucks. So, and I get it, maybe you might have incentives and things like that, but at the end of the day, winning multiple Super Bowls can do just as much for your brand and your earning potential, you know what I'm saying, as you just getting every catch every time the football is snapped.
I'm a little concerned for the Eagles. I'm gonna be honest. I think the way they're winning right now is sustainable in the regular season. But if you're talking about winning a Super Bowl, I don't think you can win this way. And the reason I say that is you have to be too perfect. If you look at their last 2 games, Trip, and we can go even further, but we'll just use the last 2 games. They scored a total of 26 points in those 2 games, right? You have to play damn near perfect if you're not scoring more than 20 points a game. They scored 16 points last night. It was a cold weather game in Detroit. Detroit offense stalled out a couple of times as well because Detroit had some drives and they had to settle field goals. The week before that, they only scored 10 points against Green Bay. You have to play damn near perfect if you think you're going to go into the playoffs and win that way. So that's why I say it's not sustainable to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Week in, week out, regular season, yeah, you can get away with it at times because we know some guys sit out injured. Sometimes you get teams on a short week. But come playoff time, the Eagles got to figure something out. I don't know who this Eagle team is right now. And maybe that's a credit to how good they are because they are 8-2, right? But last 5 games, Saquon has only rushed for over 90 yards one time, and that was against the Giants 2 weeks ago, right? Other than that, it's been pretty regular of Saquon. He has not had a good season. Jalen Hurts, the last 3 games, he hasn't thrown for 200 yards. So I don't know what the identity of this team is because last year they could get away with Jalen Hurts not really throwing the ball because they were so great running the ball. This year, they're not great running the ball either. And I just feel like they're putting a lot of pressure on that secondary that we know that secondary has been exposed at times this year. And I don't know if they could win this way if they had to go up against, let's say, like the Rams, who I think are the best team in the NFC right now. I don't know if they could beat the Rams in a playoff game playing like this. So if we're going to say, is it sustainable to make the playoffs? Yes. Are they going to win a Super Bowl this way? I don't think they can.
Well, listen, I don't want them to win the Super Bowl, so it's all good. I just want to tell you, it's a funny story, Eric. So, I'm going back and forth with an Eagles fan today. Who's trying to discredit Patrick Mahomes, and I was trying to explain to this person that Mahomes is the second best quarterback of all time right now, and he tries try to talk me down, talk me down, talk me down. So I said, all right, watch this. So I go online, I go on Chat GBT, and I put the credentials in, and I compare the because he was trying to tell me, he was just throwing names out. So the top four, the big four, Tom Brady,
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, and Patrick Mahomes. Because sometimes what people try to do is they try to throw a person's 15 to 20-year career versus somebody who's only been in the league for 8 years.
Right.
So I said, watch this. Let's compare the first 8 years, because this is Patrick Mahomes' ninth season, based off of stats, playoff record, MVP, Super Bowls, things like that, and rank these four quarterbacks. And Patrick Mahomes comes out as number one on the list. Brady is actually third. Joe Montana was second, and Peyton was fourth on the
Yeah, I
list.
mean, I think in terms of the first 8 years, it's undeniable what Patrick Mahomes has done.
Yeah.
Listen, we are sports fans, but we are realists. You have to be honest when you have these conversations. I'm a diehard Peyton Manning fan, but I will always acknowledge that Tom Brady was better than Peyton Manning, right? For the totality of their career, Brady was better. Did Manning have his moments? Absolutely. He's a 4-time MVP. He had great seasons. But if you're telling me career for career, it's Tom Brady. If you're rooting for Jalen Hurts, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't put Jalen Hurts in the same conversation as Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry.
No.
And that's not to disrespect Jalen Hurts. But you're talking about Jalen Hurts, a guy who, for most of his career, has benefited from the cast around him, right? Even this year is a prime example. Trip, I had to double check. He is one of the few quarterbacks that hasn't even thrown for 2,000 yards this year. He's 18th in passing in the league in terms of yards, right? Now, last year, we didn't make a big deal about it because Saquon was having a historic season. So you expect, right, you can't have both. Like, you're not going to have the running back running for 2,000 yards and a quarterback going for 4,000 yards. This ain't Madden, right? One of it is going to suffer. But in a season where Saquon has been average, Jalen Hurts hasn't even been good. To me, 18th in a league of 32 teams, that's below average. You're the bottom half of the league. So I get, the defense of Jalen Hurts. Yes, he's won. Yes, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. We can't take that away. But if you're talking player for player, there's nobody in their right mind who has ever watched one quarter of football that would say Jalen Hurts is in the same conversation as Patrick Mahomes, let alone better than Patrick Mahomes. It's not even a conversation, let alone a debate.
So then the argument went to, oh, well, he beat him last time they played.
Okay.
I'm like, what does that mean? Tom Brady lost to Eli twice in the Super Bowl, but he's still the GOAT, right?
Right. But listen, he lost from the last time they played. Okay, cool. So does that mean that we could throw, like you said, we could throw any other quarterback matchup out there, because does that mean Josh Allen's better than Patrick Mahomes because he beat him the last time they played in the regular season?
Exactly. So
is that what that means? Like that means nothing. The last time they played. Last time I checked, Jalen Hurts wasn't on defense getting sacks and creating interceptions. Maybe the fact that the Eagles defense is really good benefited the fact that Jalen Hurts was able to win those games.
Hello, McFly. But let's get to this next question. Did Josh Allen and the Bills prove anything with their win on Sunday? No, I mean, I don't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is Tampa, who's been playing very well. But here's the thing: like, once you're at a certain level, we expect certain things from you anyway. We expect you to wake up for big games against teams that you may wind up seeing in the playoffs. So I don't know if they proved anything, because again, I already believe, You know what I'm saying? They're a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. So, as far as what did they prove, I don't know. It's just another win.
I want to say this. Shout out to Kyrie because Kyrie, he locked in a sharp week. But Kyrie, you must be a tough person to get along with because every week he want to know if somebody proves something. Every week, it don't matter what week of the season it is. Kyrie, if you want to know if somebody proves something, ask Kyrie because he gonna let you know that
he don't care. What did they?
Yeah. Kyrie, since week 2, Kyrie been asking what did they prove. It was week 2. But with that being said. I do believe they did prove something this week, Kyrie. I said all that to say this. They did prove something because they were struggling, and Josh Allen, I think, reminded everybody why he was the MVP of the league. He was responsible for 6 touchdowns yesterday, Trip. We made a lot of conversation about those receivers and I'm not getting open. Josh Allen said, you know what? That's cool. I'm going to keep scrambling around till I get open. And that's what he did all yesterday. I didn't think Tampa played a terrible game. It's just they could not get Josh Allen on the ground. He continued to extend plays with his legs and make the big throws. And I think that's what they proved, that when Josh Allen's on his game, he is still one of the marquee quarterbacks in the game. He is still the reigning MVP. And if he's on his A game, though I don't think they're going to come out of the AFC, but if he's on his A game, they're going to be tough to beat because he can have moments like this where he can really control and dominate the game.
Yeah. Now, with the thing I will say, and not to take away from what the Bills did, but Tampa still managed to put up 32 points, and half their offense is on injured reserve. Right.
But that's just a testament to Baker Mayfield, though. I've been saying that all year.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield, he won't win the MVP because, again, they're not probably going to have a good enough record to impress the voters. But in terms of, he's really having like a Joe Burrow type season from last year. The difference is that Tampa's actually winning games and they're going to make the playoffs as opposed to the Bengals who didn't. But I think there's not enough credit being given to Baker Mayfield. There's another game again. A game like that, you expect you score 30 plus points, you think you have a chance to win. Their defense just couldn't get a stop yesterday.
Yeah. Ron says Jamar suspended 1 game. Why did Jamar say he didn't spit on him? First of all, I have no idea when you clearly hawked the loogie at this dude on camera. So I have no idea why you would go up there and lie like that. But then when I think about it, the person sitting in the White House goes on national TV all the time and lies about stuff. So maybe he's just following suit. I don't know. What I do know is dumb move, dumb thing to do. You're fighting to stay in contention for the playoffs. And on top of that, you just jammed up fantasy football owners next week because now they don't got Jamar Chase.
Nah, that's a fact. I'm disappointed in Jamar Chase. I thought in the past he's shown great leadership for this team. I'm disappointed though because one, we saw the effects of this early this season when Jalen Carter did it to Dak Prescott, and we all were in agreement that shit is super disrespectful. Mm-hmm. On top of being disgusting, it's disrespectful. Yeah. And to do that in the heat of battle, unless you're telling me Jalen Ramsey said something that completely crossed the line, there is no excuse for spitting out. None. And this is one of the situations that I completely agree with the response from Jalen Ramsey for grabbing his face mask and throwing a punch at him. Because at that point, you've completely disrespected me, and it's beyond the game of football at this point.
No,
you
that's what I'm saying.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Things could get real ugly. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's super disappointing. Of course, we know why he lied. Because when he came back to his sane mind and said, yo, I'm going to get probably suspended and get a heavy penalty for this. Let me pretend that I didn't do that. But I would hope that he would reach out to Jalen Ramsey and not only apologize, but really be sincere in that apology. Like, hey, I know I crossed the line, man. We in the middle of a game. You got under my skin, but it was completely unnecessary. And that to me, that shit was whack.
They might have to run a fade behind that.
They might have to, but that shit was whack, bro. That shit was super whack.
Yeah, boy. Because that's why bro. That one thing, 2 things that you don't do to another grown man, and that's spit at him and that's slap him. Unless you just feel like But yeah, that was out of pocket by Jamar Chase. You better than that, man. Come on now. You know that's a no-no. You don't spit in nobody's face. And then for you to go up and lie like it's not 1,000 cameras.
Right.
all around. You know, I don't know. You thought you was gonna get away with it. Maybe the cameras didn't see it, but it's like, come on, bro. Like, if you had punched him in the face, I would have no problem with that. You ain't pushed him, I would have no problem with that.
Right.
But come on, bro. To spit on somebody is crazy, bro. Especially, like I said, especially when we're what only for 4 years removed from a global pandemic that you know the spread of bodily fluids like that could actually kill someone. Now, obviously, I don't know if you sick, you know what I'm saying? I know they get tested still, but bruh, what are you out here doing, man? You got to do better, man. That's it. You have to do better.
It's not even about the. I mean, yeah, global pandemic as well, but on a deeper level, it's just wild disrespectful.
Yeah, well,
You know what I'm saying? It's super
crazy,
disrespectful to do something like that.
yeah. Pelicans fire Willie Green, but injuries to Zion and Murray hurt them. Pelicans was gonna be bad no matter who was coaching them. Okay, that's first and foremost. Second, uh, did anybody expect Zion to be healthy this year? As a matter of fact, if I was the coach, I probably would have been gung ho about trying to trade Zion, so it doesn't affect me because I know he's gonna get injured and miss a boatload of basketball games. So, you know, I'm not surprised by this. You know, somebody's got to be the fall guy. Come on, we know that.
Um, Willie Green, unfortunate situation because he took a job that he really thought had a lot of potential. Between the injuries, between the trades they made last year, obviously with losing Ingram and trading him away, this never developed the way he thought. And this was also one of the reasons why I forgot how long ago it was, but somebody had made a comment about Zion. I was like, this is why we don't talk about Zion, because Zion, as great as he is, right, as a player, he rarely plays. He's very rarely available. So the Pelicans, Willie Green getting fired is truly rooted in that. When your star player is unavailable most of the time, you're not going to have much success. And it's very hard to get the other players to buy in when the offense and everything that you've worked on all offseason was really catered to be around Zion. And that's with any team. That's not just the Pelicans. I mean, we're going to talk about Wemby in a little bit, but we saw it the years with Kawhi when he was missing all that time with the Clippers. It's tough for the role players to maintain that when the offense is supposed to go around a certain guy, and the role players were meant to kind of support and be the great, you know what I'm saying, the great accommodations with that guy. They're not meant to be the main course. They were supposed to be the side dishes. That's what's happening.
Yeah. So here's what it is. Again, the Thunder going into tonight's game is 13-1. Can they break the Warriors 73 wins? I say go for it, but don't push to get it like Warriors and wore them out at the end. Well, first of all, this OKC team now is a lot younger than those Warrior teams were when they were on their runs. Now, I mean, listen, you can still be burnt out, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, coming off of the deep run that you went, and then prior to that, you know, they made a deep playoff run. A couple of those guys played in the Olympics on, you know, for their respective countries, and then to come back, go all the way again this year, win the championship this year, and then to come back and do it again. So it does take a toll on you, but again, this is a very young team. So I think they'll be fine. But you know, why not? Why not go for the record? You know what I'm saying? If you're OKC and you actually have a chance to do it, why not?
I think they're gonna have a shot at it. I think it's gonna get tougher as the season goes on, but they got a shot. And as you mentioned, the key here is the youth. They're super young. They just had their first real playoff run. Remember when the Warriors did it? The Warriors, I mean, similar situation because the Warriors were coming off of winning the championship the year before. But Steph and those guys were a little older in their development. And Steph had a longer injury history than anything we've seen with anybody on OKC. So that definitely plays a factor in the health. But I think the key part with the Thunder is going to be once they get to 50, 55 wins, and they might have everything sewn up, right? They might have the division sewn up. They might have a comfortable lead for number one overall record. The question is, do you want to push it for fear of injury, or do we want to just coast into the playoffs? Because
Yeah.
Winning 73 games is great, but if you win 68 games and win a championship, that's still great as well. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take 68 in the chip over 73.
Right. That's what I'm saying. 68 in the chip is still great. So I think that's where it's going to get tricky. Once they get to like 55 wins and they have a comfortable lead, then it's, Coach Dagno's going to have to figure out, do we want to push this or do we want to kind of just ease into the playoffs and stay as fresh as possible for a possible repeat?
Yeah. Who was most at fault for Shador's performance?
Oh, that's easy.
The Browns organization. Hello. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, Eric, where they were not trying to give Shador reps with the first team. What did you expect? You thought because he's Deion Sanders, he's just going to magically go in the game and everything is going to be perfect? That's not how NFL football works. You have to have chemistry. Professional sports in general, you have to develop some type of chemistry with your teammates. And when your coach has a BS response for why he's not getting no reps with the first team, and he's the backup and really the only other quarterback that you have at this point, because you got rid of Pickett, you got rid of Flacco, Deshaun's injured, we don't know when he's coming back. So, you chose to not give Shador any reps with the first season, not thinking that this is football and things happen. Guys may get hurt. You might get hurt. It's football. And now he's got to jump in the game blind against a Ravens team that is starting to heat up, a defense that is getting better every week, versus a Browns team that was already pretty bad to begin with. But now you just threw somebody into the fire with not one rep with the first team. What did you expect? I think what we got was what we were supposed to get.
Kevin Stefanski may have fired himself after this week. As you highlighted, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when he himself was questioned about why Shador isn't getting reps with the first team, or even though he's the backup quarterback, and he made it seem as if Dylan Gabriel needs to start more. Shout out to that reporter, because that reporter even doubled down and said, yeah, but the backup quarterback, as you know, is one play away from playing. He should get reps. And Stefanski stood fast and said it's important for Dylan Gabriel to get as much repetition and gain as much rhythm with the first team. Then we saw what happened yesterday. Dylan Gabriel gets a concussion. Now, unless the Browns are going to do something that's very shady, every other player who's had a concussion this year has sat out the next week, right? We saw it actually with C.J. Stroud, who had got a concussion, had to sit out the next week, right? So the NFL has been very firm on that stance. You got to go through a bunch of tests. They got to make sure you're fully cleared before you get back on the field. So in most cases, 7 days isn't enough to get you back on the field, which means Shador is going to play next week, which means all week Shador is going to get the reps with the first team. If Shador plays well next week for the Cleveland Browns,
oh man,
next week they got the Raiders. That is not a good defense.
Nope, that's a very winnable game for these guys.
The Raiders play tonight, which means the Raiders are going to be on a short week because they play on Monday night and they got to play on Sunday. If he plays well next week after getting all week with the first team, Kevin Stefanski will have to eat his words, because now the quarterback who you have been denying to play, the quarterback that you have found every excuse not to get right, you found every excuse not to give him a shot, now has a golden opportunity in front of him, right?
I love
so
it.
that's one aspect of it. This is the other aspect of it. To the question, shout out to Squeeze. The Browns are not only at fault, they should be embarrassed. Specifically, Kevin Stefanski, and here's why. Before yesterday, Dylan Gabriel has started 6 games. All right. In those 6 games, Trip, he had a QBR of 33, which is 32nd in the league. That would have been worse than football. All right. He had only thrown for 200 yards one time in all of those starts, and that was against Pittsburgh. All right. He's had 30 pass attempts 4 times this year. So the fact that you can't get to 200 yards passing, even though they're giving you 30 pass attempts. Oh, by the way, he was only averaging about 6.5 yards per completion, right? You and I can come right off of this podcast and probably throw for 6.5 yards. It isn't that you can throw dump balls to your tight end and your running back and get 6.5 yards. It's not that difficult. This is the most telling stat, though, to me about Dylan Gabriel and where he's at as a quarterback in comparison to Shador Sanders, right? Dylan Gabriel has passed the ball 184 times. Trip, do you know what his longest pass is this year?
Do I want
His longest pass this year was for 26 yards. He did that yesterday against Baltimore. 184 pass attempts, and the longest pass that you have completed is for 26 yards. In comparison, Shedeur Sanders, who had not played with the first team, right? Shedeur Sanders yesterday, his longest pass of the game, 25 yards. He only threw the ball 16 times.
Mm-hmm.
Shedeur Sanders can stretch the field. He can get the ball down the field, and his legs can be a weapon. Now, are Shedeur's numbers great? Of course not. He was 4 of 16. But this is why I said the Browns should be embarrassed by the way they called that game yesterday. They were winning 16-10 at halftime when Shedeur came in, right? How is it that in the second half of the game where the Browns are winning, they were winning 16-10 at half, they were winning 16-10 going into the fourth quarter. Yet somehow, in a game that you're winning, that Shedeur Sanders clearly was not prepared to play in because he had not worked with the first team, Shedeur Sanders dropped back to pass 21 times. Dylan Gabriel, on the flip side, only threw the ball 10 times, which means when Dylan Gabriel was in the game, you was spoon-feeding the offense. You was letting Quentin Judkins control the clock, run the ball, let our defense win. Somehow Shedeur comes in now. We wanted him to drop back 21 times, even though he hasn't had the reps with this O-line or these receivers, even though we're still winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
We're winning the game. Trip, I had to go back.
They wanted him to do bad.
That's my point. That's why I said they should be embarrassed. Trip, I went back and I looked at some of the drives because Will Gordon and I were texting during the game, and I was saying it then. Mm-hmm. They kind of hanging them out the drive. I see what's happening. They had their first 6 plays of the second half. Remember I said, Trip, they were up 16-10, right? Coming out of halftime. First 6 plays, you know what they did? They threw on 5 of those 6 plays. You didn't even try to get a rhythm offensively. Throw it, Shedeur. Throw it again. We don't care that our offensive line is struggling to protect you. We don't care that you have no chemistry with these receivers. Keep throwing it. So
they wanted him to fail, right, so they can justify everything they've been doing.
5 of your first 6 plays coming out of halftime are passing the ball with your backup quarterback. No other team would ever do that.
Who's never had an NFL snap in his life.
Who's never had an NFL snap in his life and has no type of rhythm with the offense, right? We go a step further. They go into the fourth quarter. Again, like I said, they're still leading 16-10 because of their defense, right? With the game tied, their first possession of the fourth quarter after Baltimore ties it early in the fourth. The first possession, they go 3 and out. Trip, I'll give you a guess how many times they ran the ball on that possession after the Ravens tied the game 16-all.
Twice.
It's the same number that Russell Westbrook and Dame Lillard used to one time after the Ravens tied the game. So I don't want to hear no more about Stefanski and his offensive genius when you don't know how to really create a rhythm or take advantage of the fact, hey, we got a rookie quarterback, again, taking his first NFL snaps. We need to control this game. We need to slow things down. Ravens got way too much momentum right here. Let's get the ball to our running back who's had some success. No, let's just throw the ball 3 straight times. And then when we go 3 and out, we're just going to throw our hands up like we don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. On the final possession, he also had 2 drops. Now, I know Shedeur missed that throw in the corner of the end zone that would have probably tied the game. It's not the easiest throw because he's scrambling left and trying to throw almost across his body. But he still had 2 drops in that final possession. We also saw the flashes where he creates plays. He gets a pass to Judy. He gets a pass to the tight end, Finnan. So there were moments there. But if you're the Cleveland Browns today, if you're the owner especially, I'm sure you're going to sit down and you're going to say, all right, 1, did we push it in the best position to be successful? No, we did not. 2, what's our strategy for this week to get him prepared for next week? And next week, if he plays well, how should I feel confident in my coach? Because if he gets, again, he's going to get a week of practice with the first team. He's going to know all the plays that are scripted for this game plan.
Yep.
He goes in, if he plays well, Kevin Stefanski might not have the job the following day.
Yeah, because now
just remember where you heard it first.
Because how you justifying what you've been saying all this time, what you've been doing all this time? You can't. If he comes out and plays well because he's actually had some time and reps with the first team, you're going to look like an idiot.
Yep. So I think Kevin Stefanski, he might be out of there. We might have to call Will Will's closest to Cleveland. Will might have to help him move his shit. He might have to get over there, help him move, get everything together, wrap some things up, get him out of there.
In the words of the great DNA, get him the F out of there.
Yeah.
Nardo says, is JJ McCarthy the Vikings QB of the future? I have no idea. And if they keep losing games, he probably won't be the quarterback of the future. After what went down this season with the benching and then bringing them back, and they're still pretty bad. And when you look at the Vikings offense from last season in comparison to this season, where you had a Sam Darnold go in there and look like an all-pro quarterback, and you might say, oh well, he's got Justin Jefferson and Addison and they had Jones and Mason was the running back.
Mason, yep.
Mason and
TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, and all these guys. So you should look like an all-pro quarterback. And then we go to this season and we see what's going out there with pretty much those same weapons. And the Vikings have not looked good this season, and they continue to lose. So if that continues to happen, I do not see JJ McCarthy as the future quarterback of this team.
Well, I mean, we can simplify this. First of all, the team doesn't see JJ McCarthy as a quarterback of the future because just a couple weeks ago, the coach was willing to name Carson Wentz the starting quarterback. Trip, I think you've watched a lot of football. You and I speak pretty regularly. Did you think at any point coming into the season that Carson Wentz was a good enough starting quarterback?
I didn't know Carson Wentz was still in the league at the start of the season.
There you go. But if we want to go a step further, is JJ McCarthy the future? I don't know. Let's see right here, Nardo. These are JJ McCarthy's actual numbers from his last 5 starts, Trip. So we talked about Dylan Gabriel. We might as well talk about JJ McCarthy.
On the list?
Keep in mind, JJ McCarthy got to sit all last year. So he basically redshirted. He should know this offense better than anybody because from what I've heard last year, he actually was having meetings with the coach every Monday to discuss game plans and get familiar with the playbook while Sam Darnold was doing all the heavy lifting on the field, right? And when Sam Darnold left, we was like, maybe Sam Darnold might struggle a little bit because Minnesota got great weapons. We know Seattle didn't have all the same weapons. Mind you, Sam Darnold was having a really good year. Minus yesterday. He struggled yesterday. But he's having a good year overall. But when you have Justin Jefferson and Addison and Jones and TJ Hawkinson, those are good weapons. JJ McCarthy, opening night, he threw for 143 yards. The next game, he threw for 158 yards. Then he sits out for a few weeks. Then he plays against Detroit. They get the upset win against Detroit 2 weeks ago. He threw for 143 yards. Last week against Baltimore might have been his best offensive game of his career. He threw for 248 yards. Then this week, he throws for 150 yards. So again, you're telling me in 4 of your 5 starts, you're struggling just to get to 150 yards as a quarterback.
Does he have 1,000 yards passing yet on the season?
No, he's not at 1,000 yards. Again, we're talking 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It's nothing there. There's really nothing there. And
you might not look at in 2-3 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 842 yards passing through 5 games, right? So he's averaging less than 200 yards a game. Again, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a QBR of 26.7. The QBR is so bad it doesn't even rank. They normally rank the top 40 quarterbacks. That's including backup quarterbacks. If you got a QBR of 26.7, there is no ranking next to it. That's basically the analytics saying that your stat is so bad, we have nothing else to put it up against and compare it to. We're not even going to put it on the list with everything else because it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the other guys that are actually throwing footballs out here and playing quality football. JJ McCarthy, he's only their future because they invested a first-round pick in him. But is he their future beyond next season? Probably not. Again, they were willing to give the job to Carson Wentz, right? They're probably going to put some sort of a veteran quarterback in play again next offseason to test him in a preseason and see if he can actually win the job outright. And if he doesn't win the job outright after 3 years, they may look to just part ways with him.
Yeah. Wow, I was just reading something. It said Shador Sanders' home was broken into during his NFL debut. It's probably Stefanski's people.
Stefanski said somebody over there to distract him.
What?
You're not gonna pull a fast one on us, Stefanski. Yeah.
We know
He
it's
said,
you.
go see if he left the playbook in there.
Well,
Take the playbook. Let's get him distracted.
facts. Nardo says Ty Lue, a lot of considered top 3 or 4 coach in the NBA. When he first got to the Clippers because of his 4 times in finals with the Cavs. What has he done in his time with the Clippers? I mean, they got to the playoffs, but this is also a team that you built a roster full of injury-prone stars.
Yeah.
And that's what he's had to deal with. When healthy, what I'm saying, Kawhi is a top 5 player in basketball when he's healthy. But if he's not on the court, he can't help you much. Same thing with Paul George. Paul George is a certified all-star, okay? But if he cannot stay on the court, he cannot help you. That's why he's not doing much in Philly right now, because he cannot get on the court. And when you don't have your stars, plus you got other guys that keep getting hit with the injury bug, it makes it hard to win games, win playoff games, to win championships. So I'm not going to be too tough on Ty Lue for his run with the Clippers, because I understand what he's dealt with, and that's a bunch of, like I said, a bunch of injury-prone stars.
I'm not going to blame Ty Lue, because I think that what gets overlooked is we're talking about what has he done as if like making the playoffs and making the Western Conference Finals with teams that have been hurt is something easy to do.
Yeah.
Remember a couple of years ago, they were in the Western Conference Finals when Kawhi got injured in the second round. That was the year they lost to Dallas.
Yes.
So you had to go up against Joker in Denver without your best player, arguably, right?
Well, George actually did all right in the series too.
That was Paul George, one of his few great playoff moments that year, because he played well in the series leading up to it when they beat Utah, and then he played well in that series against Denver. But what Ty Lue signed up for was to have a quality team that he could coach week in, week out, and he hasn't had that. And I don't think it's fair to criticize Ty Lue for that, because every year Kawhi has gone out right around playoff time.
Yep.
And so back to the point that I was making earlier, like we talked about Zion, it's tough when you build a scheme and a strategy around a player and then he's hurt, because the guys who are supposed to complement him now have to play a different role that they were not expected to play. So I don't think that's fair to criticize Ty Lue. He's been in the playoffs a couple times with the Clippers. I don't think they've had any losing seasons there. They missed the playoffs once, maybe twice, but I don't think he's had any losing seasons. They've been winning seasons. It's just the team has been built to win around Kawhi Leonard. And when Kawhi's not there, it puts pressure on other guys to do more than they really should be doing.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Okay, Mahomes says Chiefs inconsistency starts with me, as he should say that, as he should take accountability as the leader of this team. And that's what you gotta love, because being great also comes with a certain level of accountability, because you gotta take the good with the bad. So I love that Patrick Mahomes says, you know what, I'm not about to put this on nobody. This is on me. I'm the leader here. This thing starts and ends with me. I'm the guy that Eric and Trip come on every week and say is on the Mount Rushmore. So when things don't go right, I need to step up. I need to take that accountability. I need to take that weight off my teammates' shoulders, put it on my shoulders, because I can handle it. And let's get back to football next week, and let's get this win, and let's continue to win so we can get into the playoffs and have another shot at this thing.
It's great accountability. It's great leadership. It's all the things that we expect from Patrick Mahomes. But those of us that are watching, we know that Patrick Mahomes is not the problem. The problem here is they have no running game. The problem here, again, people love numbers, Trip, so let's get to the numbers. Patrick Mahomes, 2,600 yards passing. He's 4th in the league in passing. He's 6th in touchdowns. He's 3rd in QBR, right? You're talking about a guy who's damn near top 5 in every major category. But the real problem here is they can't run the ball. They're leading rusher. We're 11 weeks in. For them, we're 11 weeks in, but they played 10 games. Their leading rusher this year is Kareem Hunt with 353 yards. Trip. You're talking about your leading rusher doesn't even have 500 yards. Where are you getting balance in your offense, right? On a larger scale, because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on one of the Wednesday shows we did. There was a point for several weeks that Patrick Mahomes is the leading rusher on this team. You look at their stats, Trip. Kareem Hunt has 353 yards rushing. Pacheco has 329 yards rushing. Mahomes has 288 yards rushing. He's within 100 yards of your top rusher. Mind you, with 40 less carries. Mahomes has only scrambled and ran the ball 48 times. Kareem Hunt has run the ball 86 times. You're not getting any production from the running back position.
Yeah.
It's a major, major problem. And yesterday, again, Denver's a great defense. When you play great defenses, and it's going to be a real test next week because the Chiefs get the Colts. The Colts are a good defense, but more importantly, the Colts can put up points, and they're going to put pressure on the Chiefs to keep up. When you play good defenses, and they could just sit in a bunch of deep zones and keep everything in front of them, you need to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to run them out of that zone. You got to be able to force their hand. Denver never had to do it because, again, there's no threat. I think yesterday the Chiefs only ran for about 57 yards yesterday. So if you're the Broncos, you're looking at it and saying, look, there is no real threat there. Again, Mahomes threw the ball 45 times. They rushed the ball a total of 13 times. Mahomes had a scramble, makes it 14. They ran the ball for 62 yards, including Mahomes' yards. But in a game that was tied for most of the day and in a game that was close most of the day, there was no balance. You can't pass the ball 45 times and only run the ball 13 times. They don't trust their running game right now. They have no confidence in Hunt or Pacheco at this point. And that's what's causing the inconsistencies. The Chiefs are not a bad team, but they're very beatable because you know that they're going to be dropping back to pass 90% of the time.
Yeah. Ron says, what's y'all thoughts on Carmelo Anthony's son Cayenne playing so well? First of all, shout out to Cayenne. He actually went to school with my goddaughter. They went to this fancy private schools in Manhattan. So big shout out to Cayenne. I think he's at like 17 right now.
Mm-hmm.
A small sample. First of all, I love it for Cayenne because, like I said, again, this is someone who went to middle school with my goddaughter. So seeing him from there and then, his transition and making it all the way to the collegiate level. And then on top of that, Carmelo being one of my favorite players and that being his son. So ultimately I want him to do well. And he has done well. He has started off this year very well. He's averaging 17 with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and he's shooting almost 64% from the field. Now, I'm not going to put too much on these first couple of games because I don't feel like they've really faced any legitimate, and let me not say legitimate, because respectfully, they haven't faced the upper echelon of schools yet because they've played Binghamton, Delaware State, and they've played Drexel. So I don't want to put too much on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like his first couple of games was Duke, Kansas.
They haven't played the high level D1.
Yeah, UConn, those guys just yet. So I don't want to go too crazy, but I like what I'm seeing thus far.
I love this for Cayenne because I love when any athlete kind of builds themselves up. For a long time, the hype around Cayenne wasn't because he's Carmelo's son and let's automatically give him praise. He wasn't a highly recruited high school athlete his first 2 years. It really was his junior and senior year that kind of elevated him, and then that's when he became the number 1 player in New York and became a top 50 player in the country. So he's really worked on his craft, and as you mentioned, very humble kid because when he played at Gauchos, he wasn't the star athlete on Gauchos. He was coming off the bench. Remember, they made a big deal about the high school game when him and Bronny went against each other. Cayenne wasn't starting then. He was a guy coming off his bench. So he's built himself up. He's worked on his game. And there is a maturity about his game, Trip. I will say that. I agree with you. They haven't played the elite D1 schools. And when he plays against better athletes, we're going to see how he handles that type of defense with guys that are faster and stronger. But the maturity in his game you see he never looks rushed. It's almost, and I'm not comparing him to this guy, so I don't want people to think that's what I'm saying. But it's almost like when you watch somebody like Luka, who isn't the fastest guy on the court, but somehow always gets to a spot, always gets a shot off. You know what I'm saying? Cayenne's kind of the same way. He doesn't look super fast, but somehow he's going to get to a spot. And when he gets to the mid-range, you know, at any point now he's a threat because he can elevate and shoot, similar to the way his dad was as a player as well. So I love the progression in his game, and I am excited to see how he continues to progress once he starts seeing better athletes and other, higher level Division I teams.
Yeah. And, you know what I'm saying? I do like the fact that he's 6'5". Listed at 6'5", you know what I mean? Because I had to compare because, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to start a whole thing. But, you know, one of the knocks on Bronny is he's a much smaller guard. So I do like the fact that he's 6'5". I think that's going to be to his benefit. And he has heart. He's not afraid of the moment. Again, we're gonna see how he does once you start playing the upper echelon of schools.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen thus far, I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think, and like you said, I don't want to compare the two. You know, they both young men, but it's not fair to Bronny because I don't think Bronny is as skilled as Cayenne. I mean, as Cayenne is offensively. I think Bronny may be a better athlete because you can see the speed and the quickness, especially on defense. But when you just watch the things Cayenne is already doing, like I said, the maturity in his game, he's never rushed. I promise you. You look at some of these buckets he's scoring, you're almost wondering, like, what is he trying to do? And then when you see the finished product, you're like, yeah, he knew what spot he wanted to get to. He knew where he wanted to finish, on what side of the rim he wanted to finish on. He knew where he wanted to get the defender. He just needed to get to the defender to a spot, and he could elevate over him. So I think those are the little tricks of the trade that he has that Bronny just never developed. Cayenne has them, and maybe that's just in their training. But Cayenne, I think, is just different because he can score the ball at all three levels. And once his body starts to fill out, he's going to even become more dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go to this next question. Hold on 1 second. Stephen Curry versus the Spurs. Back-to-back games in San Antonio. 46, 49 piece and 2 wins. He's still arguably the best show in the game in terms of excitement, but he will get wore out. Yes, he will. Quiet as kept, I might say Wemby is the best show, but he got to stay on the court.
Yeah.
Just because when he's doing it on both sides of the basketball, the block on Draymond, throwing it on Draymond, it's like, yeah. But no, you gotta love Steph Curry and what he's still doing. You gotta put some respect on his name. I mean, 46 and 49 back to back is just crazy in itself. But yeah, this is again, what we spoke about earlier with Golden State. They weren't a young team when they were in their peak of getting to the chip, back to back, and they're certainly not young now. So you don't want to wear Steph out. You have a roster where again your stars are injury prone, and guys will miss huge chunks of games. Steph included, Jimmy Butler included, missed chunks of games. So, I mean, I doubt him putting up as many shots and putting up 46 and 49 early in the season is going to have too much of an effect on him. But you'd like for Golden State to win without Steph having to put up damn near 50. So
I think I agree. I think Wemby is probably the greatest show right now. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for a little bit. But in terms of Steph, we should just appreciate what we're seeing because I don't know if we're ever going to see this again. And I know the game is going to keep evolving, but his ability to shoot off the dribble, off movement, from distance. I mean, damn near the moment Steph starts approaching half court, I'm not even going to say when he crosses. The moment he starts approaching half court, that shot could go up. That shot could go up at any point. And I think that's just what makes it so special in what he does. Will he get worn down? Absolutely. Yeah. Because of his age, because of the mileage that's on Steph. And that's why I think Steve Kerr, one of the biggest jobs he's going to have this year is kind of managing the minutes once they get into the second half of the season. Early in the season, you don't mind. Go ahead, Steph. Go off. But once they get into the second half of the season, Trip, you and I have said this many times, a team like the Warriors, they're not concerned with being the number 1 and number 2 seed. They're concerned with being healthy come playoff time. And so Steph and Steve Kerr are going to have to figure out a strategy once you get into the second half of the season that allows him to stay in a rhythm, allows him to stay Steph Curry, but also understanding that you being healthy in the playoffs is far more important than all the threes that you're going to hit in the regular season. So when we say he gets worn out, yeah, he's going to get worn out, but I think the Warriors will do a good job of finding a way to manage his minutes once we get into like March and April.
Yeah, I agree. And she did bring it up while we talking about it. Wemby will be missing a couple of weeks. I'm hoping when they say a couple of weeks, it's literally a couple of weeks and it's just 2 weeks, and then he'll be back because, man, watching Wemby play, it kind of gives you new life. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yeah, we got some guys in here, and Wemby is such an anomaly that it's just like, yo, you kind of got to watch him. Like, the things that he is doing, I think the most impressive to me is the ball handling ability that Wemby has showcased this season. It's like, bro, you cannot be 7'4",
Yeah,
throw it down, block shots, shoot the three, and have handles. Come on, man. It's just not fair.
yeah. Wemby's a creative player. At this point, Wemby is a creative player, and I don't. Other than health, there is nothing that can stop Wembanyama from being the best player in this league.
Like,
and
I'm
willing to.
Was alien. Wemby is alien.
No, Wemby's the alien. Wemby's the unicorn. Wemby's any other analogy y'all want to use. It is Victor Wembanyama. And like I said, my biggest fear with Wemby, I've said this since rookie year, was how is the health going to, how is he going to manage that health moving forward?
Yeah.
It's not about the skill. It's not about the skill. We knew he had skills very early on. I've had this conversation with my man Vern. We've talked about it here, people in the comment section. It's nothing about the skill. In order for him to truly be one of the greats, he's going to have to stay healthy. Because unfortunately, we've seen in the past, most guys his size, Paul's, their body just can't maintain the level of physicality that the NBA requires. You know, for 80-something games a year, it's tough. Even with load management, if you still want to make a playoff run, if you still want to be successful in May and June, you got to be healthy. And that's the biggest thing with Wemby. So like I said, I hope he's not out too long. And if he is, I hope this is the last time that he's out. I don't want this to become a recurring thing that come March, we got to have this conversation again.
Yeah. All right. Let me go to Day Day. I'm surprised. This is not a question from Imani because she always asks us about the Pistons. Day Day says, the Detroit Pistons, are they for real? And is Cade Cunningham a star player yet? I think the Pistons are real. But Cade is not a star yet. I think you gotta put a little bit more work in. They're making the playoffs last year helps. You know, now you gotta advance. You gotta hit them all NBA teams. You know what I mean? You gotta get another all-star nod before you get to the star, you know what I'm saying, power just yet. Because again, you just made it to the playoffs for the first time last season. Let's get some consistency. And again, I think Cade is great. So it's not, you know, I'm not trying to slight Cade in any way, shape, or form. It's just about resume, and it takes time to build that resume.
I agree. I think Cade is legit. I do like Cade. I thought last year's playoffs against the Knicks was kind of his coming out party because they introduced him to the rest of the world and showed how great of a player he is. I think the Pistons are very good. My main concern with the Pistons, though, is one, who's going to be your second best player come playoff time? Because we know when teams can gear up for you and strategize for you, it becomes very tough to just rely on one guy. So you got to figure out who your second best player is going to be. Is it going to be Jaden Ivey? Is he going to take that next step up to become that guy? The second issue, and this is more so about the coaching, is JB Bickerstaff. For people that may not remember, I know the Pistons off to a great start. What were they, 11-2 right now, Trip? Yeah, 11-2. But JB Bickerstaff was a coach with the Cavs a couple of years ago when they got off to a great start, and they finished fourth in the East. JB Bickerstaff, one of his biggest issues, though, is he's a very vanilla coach, very bland. And what he does in the regular season, he never adjusts. He never kind of ups the ante, as people would say. It's kind of the same coaching style through and through. JB Bickerstaff, I need to see JB take that next step as a head coach for the Pistons to take the next step. Because if not, it might have to be somebody else to come in there and lead this group. It's a really good young core of players. This team is going to be good for a long time. They do, like I said, need that second best guy. But I think right now, if they're for real this year, it's going to be because JB Bickerstaff takes the next step up and he becomes one of the elite coaches in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Pooh. She says, fellas, I will be at the Champions Classic in New York tomorrow. Duke versus Kansas, Michigan State versus Kentucky. I know Duke is Tripp's team. I love Isaiah Evans and Cam Boozer. Yep. And people say Boozer's Boozer brothers look old. Shout out to Pooh. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm the Blue Devil fan on the show. That's dope that you're gonna be in New York. You know, obviously I'm taking Duke in this game, but yeah, the guys that I've been seeing and hearing the most about, Cam Boozer, AJ DeBensta. Again, I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong.
Homie from BYU, right?
Yes, and who's the third kid? I'm mad that I can't remember his name right now because I literally just watched something with them. But yeah, I'm excited, and that's dope. Welcome to New York, Pooh. Shout us out, man. We here.
That's a fact. Pooh, enjoy the game. The Garden is a great place to catch the game, and those are some good ones to really see as well. There's a lot of prospects there, great teams. I think you're gonna enjoy it and have a great time.
Facts. I agree. Oh, Will Gordon in the building. What it do, baby?
Will, what's good, bro?
Will says, what a horrible week of football. Hopefully Monday night football saves the weekend. Philly is looking Super Bowl ready. Who wants it in the AFC? Nobody is showing championship level consistency except maybe Eric's Colts. I mean, the Colts have been playing some great football, so you can't even deny them. Chargers took a bad loss this week. Obviously,
terrible loss.
So the Chiefs take a loss that they really needed to win. Shout out to Denver though for you know getting that dub. Who wants it in the AFC? I'm gonna tell you who wants it in the AFC. The Baltimore Ravens. They just ran off 4 straight, and they're gonna keep running off wins until they get back into the number 1 spot. That's who wants it. All right. No, there's a lot of teams that want it in the AFC. You know, now whether or not you're gonna get it is a different question. But you know, I thought the Chargers wanted it. They took a bad loss though. I thought the Chiefs wanted it. They took a bad loss. You know what I mean? So, you know, it comes with the territory. But as far as championship consistency goes, yeah, Colts have, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, the Colts may have been the best team in football this year.
I think we've been the most consistent. You know, I don't want to get too far out of myself and say, oh, we definitely been the best team. I think we've been the most consistent week.
Oh, no, it's not getting far ahead of yourself. They've been playing like the best team. I'm not guaranteeing them a Super Bowl win, but if we're just saying,
no, yeah. Up until this point, you're saying up until this point, they. I'm worried about the Chargers for Will because we talked about it 2 weeks ago. The O-line, now that they lost Joe Alt, so pretty much they're starting left tackle and right tackle are done for the season. A lot of O-line issues. It showed yesterday because the Jaguars were able to get a lot of pressure on them yesterday on Herbert. But I'm worried for the Chargers. This could start to get a little ugly now. They got to figure those things out. The Broncos, I like. I don't trust Bo Nix, though. And for the Chiefs, these next couple of weeks of their season trip, the Chiefs are 5-5. The next 3 games, they got the Colts. Then they got the short week against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Then they got the Texans. I don't know if they can win all 3 of them games. They got to find a way to at least win 2 of those 3 to be a playoff team. Because, they're 5-5. They're too far behind the Broncos, who are 9-2. They're not going to catch the Broncos for the division, I don't think, even though they got 1 more game against them. And the Ravens, I think it's lining up perfectly. Trip, I wish we got to find that clip because we talked about it. We said this is the time that the Ravens are going to get hot. This was right around the time they were about to play the Bears. And if you look at the Ravens, how it's shaping up for them, not only have they got back to 500, right? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, they're fearing that Aaron Rodgers broke a bone in his wrist yesterday. Aaron Rodgers might be out. So
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is only up a game on Baltimore. They still got to play each other.
Twice.
Pittsburgh has not looked good most of the season, in my opinion, anyway.
Mhm.
And now you got a situation where you're going to have to go to Mason Rudolph for the rest of the season, or at least for the next month. And the Ravens are hot. This is shaping up perfect for the Ravens to come back and win that division.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm that's what I'm hoping for. Last topic before we get out of here. Antonio Brown has been released. He's still facing some issues. But he was charged with second degree attempted murder. From a situation that he had a couple of months earlier, where there was some gunplay going on. So he's dealing with that. I don't want to go too much into it because again, we're still waiting for some details. Right. But just based off of Antonio Brown finishing his NFL career and all of the things that have been going on with him between that time and this arrest, Eric, I guess, what are your thoughts on Antonio Brown?
It's unfortunate. We talk about talent all the time. Antonio Brown is one of the most talented receivers to ever play the game.
Absolutely.
Again, if you watch football, when you watch football, I mean, the raw numbers themselves, if you look at the numbers, you say, wow, he put up great numbers for a short period of time, led the league in receiving, a couple 100-yard catch seasons, great player. But I don't know if it is any type of mental illness. I don't know if it's something deeper that's going on. Like I said, I don't want to stain his name and make it seem like I know for a fact this is what's causing it. But when you look at all the issues he's had away from the field, just the last 5 years, domestic violence allegations against him, public issues with his kid's mother online. Now this one, attempted murder. Like, I hope that whoever's close enough to Antonio Brown gets to sit him down and be like, yo, we got to get things right. We got to get you situated. Because Antonio Brown, there's still a lot of life to live. There's still a lot of time to get you. Right, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of time to get your life together, bro. Like, you're going down I hate to sound like an old head, but you kind of going down a path where we know where this leads and we know where this ends. So I don't know how this case will end off. Like you said, we don't have all the details yet. Mm-hmm. However it ends off, I hope that he has the right people around him to kind of get him back on track, because Trip, it's so many incidents over the last 4 or 5 years that it's like, it's amazing that this dude, real talk, is still alive, bro.
And that's my thing. Like, charges aside, I hope that Antonio Brown looks at this situation and just really says, you know what, I need to stay out the way, because now it's just too much, and now it's just not, you know what I'm saying? This a whole different level than, you know what I mean? Than the antics and the things that build up to this is like, listen, bro, you talking about a attempted murder charge. You gotta at some point, take that accountability and say, you know what, I need to stop putting myself in certain situations that I could even be involved in something. Because we don't know the complete story. We don't know, who did what and when and where. We don't have all those details. However, you have to remove yourself from certain environments so that we can avoid this altogether. You know what I'm saying? Again, Antonio Brown, one of the greatest wide receivers football has ever seen. I hope and pray that he is not guilty of doing something like this.
I agree.
You know what I mean? But again, we're gonna have to sit back and we're gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. I hope, like I said, I don't know the situation. Like I said, I've only seen bits and pieces of it online, the situation where he's claiming they were trying to jump him and he pulled the gun. I know he's got a lot of young children, so for the sake of his children, I'm hoping for the best in this situation.
Yes.
But more so, I'm hoping that no matter how this situation plays out, he has the right people around him to kind of set everything straight and get him back on track. Because, like you said, 37 years old, you're still young enough to correct some of the things that's going on and get things right. And right now, you're blowing. There's so much for Antonio Brown. I think we look at players and athletes and we forget that even after their career's over, there's still a lot of stuff that they can do to be productive, make great money, live a comfortable life. Especially now with the media game, with all these different outlets of content. Antonio Brown was an entertaining guy. He still is an entertaining guy. You know what I'm saying? But you got to get right, bro. Come on, man.
As a matter of fact, it's quiet as kept. Antonio Brown sent us some love.
That's a fact.
Not too long.
That's a fact.
All right, let's be clear. Okay. Antonio Brown is definitely in tune with Real Fans, Real Talk. He definitely, you know what I'm saying, showed us love. Y'all can check the Instagram. If you don't believe me, you think I'm capping, check the Instagram. Antonio Brown definitely, you know what I'm saying, rock with us. He showed us mad love. So, you know what I'm saying? And again, I mean, when you're talking about, these type of charges, I don't want that for nobody. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like, I really hope that, this is not the case. It's just, maybe he was just there, but wasn't involved. I really hope it's a situation like that.
He's on camera. So the footage I saw, you don't see him letting off shots, but you do see him grab his gun.
Yeah.
What you don't see, and I think this way, like I said, I want to give him some grace. Mm-hmm. He claims that they were trying to jump him, and rob him of his jewelry. When the camera pans, at least from the image I saw, you see a scuffle, but you don't know what led to that scuffle. You don't know if it was just an argument that went left or dudes try to run down on him. Because they're like they're like in a parking garage after an event. Mm-hmm. So you don't, like I said, you don't know what led to it before then. You don't know what conversations I had before then. But you do see him when he's running after the dude and he's reaching out and grabbing a gun because there's somebody who's trying to grab his arm, like, let's go. And he's trying to go after the dudes with the gun. So you don't know, again, what took place before that. You only see that.
All right, well, listen, like I said, we're going to see. Eric, give us a final thought.
All right. As always, appreciate all the supporters. We greatly appreciate it. For locking in with us. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be back on Wednesday. We missed last week. I had a little issue I had to take care of. But we're back this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. sharp. What else we got? Oh, man. Listen. If you don't do nothing else, it's a lot going on in the country. We talk about it all the time, Trip. Wilbur and I talk about it all the time. Don't let these politicians trick you out your spot. Don't let them fool you into thinking that it's something it's not. Now, we got to say it, Trip, because the divide that's been created in this country is by rich politicians and businessmen who want us, the common folk, the everyday working man and woman, to turn on each other. At the end of the day, don't let them trick you out your spot, bro. See through all the bullshit. I'm going to say that, man.
Well, listen, we've seen through the BS.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So it's another group of people that have it or have and just completely ignore it.
Blindly following.
Yes, that's the problem. It's the people that see it, understand it. You can give them facts, black and white, color, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Yep. Two things for my final thought. One, shout out to the Texans. They had me nervous for a minute, but shout out to the good folks over at Soundview Liquor and Balama Rum. My main man Brian, your main man Brian.
Oh, that's my man B for sure.
I got him alive one more week on the football pool.
That's 11 straight.
Yes, we lit. It's him and two other cats left. He on a cruise right now, so I didn't find out who the other two guys that's left in the pool picked this week. So I don't know if he might have won the pool already or not. If not, we're gonna keep this thing going. But shout out to my main man Brian. And like I said, the good folks over at Soundview Liquor, they always show us love. In studio, they took care of the bar, make sure everything was stocked up for us. They had us always stocked up at the bar. So shout out to Soundview Liquors and to Balama Rum. And lastly, of course, I mentioned it at the top of the show. I waited till all the way to the end of the show. I got to show my main man John Cena some love. It's this a little bittersweet for me tonight. That this is his last Monday Night Raw, and he's not fighting. He won the belt, the Intercontinental Championship last week from Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio Jr.'s son. So he's not fighting this week. He will be. His last match is gonna be for that title, and it's gonna be against the winner of the last time is now tournament. Which means obviously he's probably gonna lose that last match because I don't think he's gonna retire with that belt. But he is in New York, tonight. It is going down. So for all you wrestling fans out there, to my main man John Cena, you can't see me. I'm sorry, it's nostalgic, man. I'm a wrestling fan till I die, baby. Matter of fact, I got some pics in my phone. I had one of my coworkers had the championship belt. I got some pics. I ain't even get to post them yet. And my phone holding the championship belt. You know what I'm saying? So, man, much love and respect to John Cena. He's doing his thing right now. As far as with the film and television. Obviously, Peacemaker season 2, just dropped. Phenomenal, even better than the first season. He had his little cameo in the Superman movie. So, John Cena's doing his thing, man. I'm gonna miss him as a wrestling fan. He's on my Mount Rushmore. You know what I'm saying? But when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah, he's hell of a career. Definitely Hall of Fame. And cultural icon as well within the world of wrestling.
That's a fact. And he don't ever take credit for the "you can't see me." Anytime he's asked about it, he always gave that credit to Tony Yayo.
Tony Yayo, that's a fact.
Even more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's even more reason why you gotta love John Cena. So big shout out to John Cena. Shout out to all the WWE fans. It is going down tonight. So with that being said, excuse me. Make sure y'all following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And if you're not in New York City on Thursday nights and you can't watch us on Verizon 43, BPN 2 from 8 to 9 p.m., do not worry. Just click that that red button on the website, realfansrealtalk.com, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. And make sure you subscribe to the two best podcasts moving. That's the Real Fans Real Talk and the Sanchez Show podcast. As Eric said, we will be back on Wednesday night. We got a couple more parlays for y'all, a couple of more picks for y'all. All right, so make sure you stay tuned in. Shout out to the good brother Will Gordon. He will be with us on Wednesday as well. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, and my brother, Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.